Okay, welcome everybody to the March 31st meeting of the School Safety Subcommittee. Thanks everybody for being here. As usual, I will kick off with just running through the agenda and what we plan to do today, if Lauren can grab that for us. Okay, well, I didn't change the date at the top is what immediately jumps out at me. Well done, Siobhan. But I did change the agenda. Thank you. Okay, so running through the agenda now, we have a set of recommendations ready to go to council. I just want to talk through the logistics of who wants to present that, what date, what council date we want to present that on. And then we have a guest from Journey of Hope, which is a community organization. I've not seen her pop up on the call just yet, but I know she was also balancing a kid's soccer game. So hopefully we'll just be able to accommodate her when she is able to jump on. We have a couple of requests or opportunities, depending on how you want to look at it, from the community that we need to run through. I do have that draft criteria and goals document for the oversight, the group that oversees the SROs. We talked about submitting some potential criteria, and I want to talk about maybe just a process on that, since we probably won't have time on the actual meat of it, but I'll run you through it. And then I want to just, in recognition of our formal timeline starting to feel like it's winding down, I want to talk a little bit about prioritizing the outcomes we want to see between now and the end of June, and also talk about how we want to recommend that this commission moves forward. Both the work of this subcommittee specifically and the larger commission. So we can maybe think of a recommendation for the larger group, and then that's it. So I don't mean to make it sound like that's it. That's a lot, but we're gonna tackle it. I didn't hear from anybody on wanting to add to the agenda except for Moises. You had something you wanted to bring to our attention that you sent to me this morning. And so do you see a place you want to do that, or do you want to just take it off the top?
Wherever. It's just something for us to talk about eventually, but so we could talk now or we could talk at the end.
Okay, if we find ourselves with time at the end, we'll do it. If not, we'll put it on the next agenda, or you can send it out between, or I can send it out in between. So, okay, with that, has everybody on this call had a chance to look at the current recommendations document that I sent out? I'm looking particularly at our officers. I'm nervous that we're catching everybody on our emails because you weren't in the original group, and I know sometimes people are replying all to older emails. And so you did get that? Okay, great. The only thing, at least in my mind, the only item that we need to shore up before we send that in is the whether it's 8 months or 12 months at which they need to reassess on the success of that, the measures that the city has put in place, that the PD has put in place for the Promising Youth Project. And there was some discussion over email on whether 8 or 12 months was the right time frame. Does anybody have a strong feeling on that? I know Moises, you kind of said either would work, but do you have a preference? Anybody?
Well, I think it just depends how far in advance before funding, right? Because they go through school calendar years,
Mm-hmm.
and that's when they end. So it'll end either in end of June or end of July. Usually it'd be an end of July. They're grants, and they're both grants. The COPS and the USBE are both grants that go through the school year. And so, whatever date we think that the city should be able to pick up that funding before that runs out. And that's the part I don't know. So I don't know if Nicole knows
Well,
why
if
eight
budgets are
months or.
now, right? If budgets are now, then we would say, I guess we don't have to say 8 months. We could just say no later, like they should reconvene no later than March 2022, right? 2021 to discuss the future funding sources. So then it does not a number of months, it's just a time threshold. Is that better?
Yeah, I would like that. How about you, Nicole? I know you had brought the 8 months. I don't know if you had that for a special reason or you're just thinking, let's just not forget about these people.
Okay. Okay, repeat that question. Sorry. I was sending off emails to title agents and runners and okay, I'm good.
Right. So Siobhan was saying that instead of an 8 month or 12 month, whatever, that we just say in March of basically next year, March of 2022, the city should get together and make sure that they address the funding issue for PYP because
So
right
that
now
it
it's
should
budget
be
time.
incorporated into another budget. It'd be early.
Right, right. So is March the good time to start incorporating new budget stuff? What does the budget
Yeah.
office need? Because I'd say let's work on their time frame.
Yeah, I mean, usually, and check me on this, Lauren, but usually city budget stuff, the mayor starts formulating her, I mean, she probably starts before then, but anytime I've been involved, she starts formulating her recommended budget. And same with police and like all the departments start putting together their budget recommendations in like March timeframe, right, Lauren?
Yeah, in fact, we had to have ours turned in, I want to say 2 weeks ago. So like mid-March is the deadline for them to be turned in.
Okay, so maybe we should say January, February.
Mhm.
I mean, I want to balance that with their, Tearlinks has said to us, like, give us some time to make sure that this works. So I also don't want to like make it seem like, oh, here's all your time. It's like 2 months. Hope it works.
No, but this is just for the money, right?
Right. Just for the money.
Yeah, yeah.
But I'm sure the money conversation will bring up other conversations. So I don't want to shortchange it either.
So Lauren, would February be good?
I imagine so. I know a lot of offices typically start theirs or like revising theirs right around then.
Okay, so we will say February of 2022 that this should be revisited no later than that. That was the one missing piece for the recommendations. Of course, for those who are newer to our group, those are not all our recommendations. That's just the current set. We will continue to develop them and we will continue to move others forward. We just want to get them in front of people so action can be taken on them as soon as possible. Any other discussion on those before we talk about the who and the what of pushing them forward? Okay. I can't see everyone's face, so you would have to use your words because because of the shared screen. So use your words, please, if you want to speak up.
You just went toddler mom on us there.
I did. I did. You wait until we have a potty break later. So you can tell I have young kids. So then it's always better, in my opinion, when we bring these to council to have them presented by someone other than me. I'm the paid help, but you guys are the driving force behind this. And so is anybody feeling particularly like they want to be involved in this, or who hasn't gone yet, whose turn is it? I'm not quite sure how we want to arrive at this. Also, I want to look at, our officers are not voting members, but I do think this, some of the recommendations about going through this summer, some of the recommendations about these wraparound, that's the right word, programs, those did come with your input, and your input is sort of new-ish to this group. So I hope I'm not speaking out of turn by offering, we'd love to have you at least attend. Kamal, your colorfulness is amazing today. Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Your art and your outfit are just popping. I like it. So anybody volunteers? I'm not above volunteering.
I would recommend, if Nicole's available, for Nicole and I to present, since we've been working a lot on that PYP together, as well as the other stuff. And I would just, of course, and anybody else to join as well. And like Rogelio from the youth subcommittee would be great too. But man, I sure would love it if the officers, one, two, or all would show up as well, um, to show that we are starting to work together. If that's how you feel.
Yeah, and if council
Um,
has questions for you all on how this might
Yeah.
affect your work or things like that, you know, you never know where council's gonna go when they have questions. So this, I think it's been suggested that we could, if I remember correctly, present this at the meeting on the 6th, if I'm not mistaken. Lauren, there's council on the 6th, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
sorry. It's because my phone was ringing real loud and I didn't want to unmute myself. Yes, there's one on the 6th.
Okay, and I believe that's the one that council staff suggested that we could present these at, if you guys are good with that date, there's no conflicts. Okay. Cool, then we
I'm
will,
okay. Nicole, you good?
I see her nodding, so.
Yeah,
and
I'm
so,
good. A specific time is better. That's Human Rights Commission night. So if I can attend
Yeah.
both, that'd be ideal. But if I can't, that's fine too.
yeah, and you know, they're usually pretty good about trying to give us a specific time with the caveat that things might move. So, you know, we can always text you and just say, hey, it looks like we're coming up on our agenda
Gotcha.
item or whatever, so you could make the jump. That's the beauty of Zoom, isn't it?
That's
Yeah.
that's
That
perfect.
we can do things like that. And then,
And generally for us, it's between 2 and 5. Is that what it is?
yeah, I think the last couple times it's landed at like 3:15 or
3,
3:50,
yeah.
you
Been
know,
around
like in
3,
that
yeah.
time frame. So we'll see what council staff, I'll ask that question tomorrow and we can find out when they can assign us. But yeah, when we get our time assigned, we'll make sure, Lauren, can you help me make sure that we get that invite out to everybody so that, you know, just because Nicole and Moises, you know, put the work in on this PYP deal, doesn't mean that we want anybody and everybody from this subcommittee
Everybody.
who is available to attend so that,
Big time.
council can see all the work that went into this and everybody's thoughts. So,
Yep.
so that, go ahead, Lauren. Do you
I
have
was just gonna say, I'm presenting something else that night. So if I can keep tabs on where we're at on the agenda as well.
That'd be awesome. That'd be awesome because it is always just a little bit of a crapshoot when it comes to exactly what time we're gonna land on. So, I don't see, does anybody see, did Shannon join us? I don't see that she has yet, so I'm gonna keep
Yeah, I
going.
haven't seen Shannon yet.
I haven't. There was a good question she had though, and this is something I just kind of assumed, but I realized I didn't have a definite answer until she asked, and that was, are SROs in the schools wearing their uniforms, or are they wearing like I think she called it the 5-pocket and like a polo shirt? And I had assumed they weren't wearing their uniforms. I thought they were wearing like their I call them cargo pants, but maybe that's a bit outdated. I guess shows I'm
That's
a kid of
funny.
the
I
80s,
assumed
but
the exact opposite. Tell us
oh
what's
really?
true.
Yeah, and see, I just assumed it was the polo and the 5-pockets because when I worked at Granger, they never wore their uniforms. It was always like a polo and like slacks of some sort, or the cargo thingies. I don't even know the name of them. But
Luckily,
yeah,
we have
those.
subject matter experts here. Tell us.
Yeah.
So
Tell us.
so it's kind of a mashup. It's like a detective uniform, but we have our LBV, load bearing vest over the top, and it's I don't have a picture of myself, or else I could send it to y'all, but it looks more like a traditional patrol uniform more so than a detective uniform. But
Okay.
the detective uniform is kind of the dress down blue polo shirt. We wear the polo shirt, but I've got my vest over the top and like a duty belt on and stuff.
Is your gun visible? Out of
Yes,
curiosity, it is. Okay.
it looks just like you look just like a patrol officer, just with a different uniform underneath.
Okay. 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 Thank you for that. Because I had a different
Yes.
assumption.
Yeah. See, we operate under these assumptions and even think.
Well,
because
our
I was
little-
like, oh, it's just a polo and they look fine, whatever. And
My internal picture was different as well.
right.
Okay, so next up, just to get through all these, I sent as the many things that Lauren helped me to send to you yesterday was an email from SpyHop, and their community it appears to me what they're trying to do is come up with a community coalition to address issues for at-risk youth. And I followed up with the person who sent it to us from the city and asked the question. I said, is this specific to children of color, or is this just for youth? And she said it seems like it's pretty specific to that area around Spy Hop, which is like Central 9th and the downtown area. And the intent is to provide support for students who are being bused from west side to east side, because apparently there's been an issue identified that those students don't have as much of a sense of community or a sense of place because they're being moved, you know, from their neighborhood to a neighborhood that's less familiar, or that's not their neighborhood. And so this is kind of a coalition of organizations that are working to support those students, and they asked for a representative from our group to be part of that coalition. I don't know if anybody in this group has a particular tie to that issue or that community where you want to put your hand up. I saw Rogelio, you came onto video. Does that mean you're raising your hand? Are you? Okay. I will put you directly in touch with that person, and we can go from there. Thanks for being willing. It sounds like a really great, I mean, when we're talking about all these wraparound services, it sounds like more communication between them can only be a good thing. So the second is Pioneer Park is undergoing yet another master plan update. I feel like they do this every couple of years to look at like, what should we do with Pioneer Park? And the current group that's doing that reached out and said, we would love to have someone from racial equity in policing to, and it's not specific to the subcommittee. I just haven't had a chance to bring it up to the full commission. So you guys get first right of refusal because here I am. And they basically just want someone to come in and who's tied to that community, again, around Pioneer Park, which we all are in some way. And, you know, I believe what they're looking for is a bit of an equity lens on what they decide for programming and for design. If anybody, and I think that one is just a point in time. They want somebody to attend a particular meeting to give feedback from that perspective. It's not an ongoing thing. Does anybody live near there or have an interest in Pioneer Park in particular? If not, I can put it out to the rest of the commission, but again, with the screen shared, I can't see everybody. So if you're raising your hand, I don't see you. It's okay if you don't.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Moise.
Depending on the when they meet, I may or may not be able
Okay.
to.
Okay. So if your schedule is free, you'd be interested. If your schedule is not free, you're not going to move mountains to get there. Okay. Understood. Okay. So thank you for those. I feel like more and more we're getting lots of requests. I appreciate those of you who are giving your time to the media as well, because I feel like every 5 minutes I see a request. Oh, so-and-so would like to do an article on this, or so appreciate all the time everyone's giving. So just to make sure we get to this, I really want to talk about, it just feels like time is getting a little bit short. It is and it isn't. I mean, we have through the end of June, we have plenty of meetings, but I really want to make sure we're prioritizing what we get done between now and June. What if there's issues we haven't touched on yet, if there's major change we were hoping to make that we haven't addressed yet, that we get to those conversations. And the city staff has also asked us for a recommendation on what this commission should look like beyond June. And I feel like those two requests are pretty intertwined about, because I don't think the work should stop. No, and it didn't seem like when we talked about this in full commission that anybody really felt like this was going to be a natural end point for racial equity and policing, but that it should be an ongoing conversation in some way. Anybody have thoughts on either of those topics? We could start either place on what we need to prioritize or what the commission should look like going forward. We can start at either point.
So I don't know if this kind of applies or not. But if we're wanting to have SROs involved with our summer program, you guys should probably know I signed up for a patrol rotation yesterday out of a department need. I was more or less ordered to do it. I'm just taking my turn in patrol. So if we're going to try to make the summertime happen this summer, I think that's going to need to be addressed, because there was a few of 3 or 4 others that are hitting patrol for the summertime as well. We were thrown in the bid.
I don't understand what that means. What's thrown in the bid mean?
So it's essentially they post the shifts for patrol work, and
Mhm.
you have to go sign up, and that's where you're going to be assigned for the next 4 months.
Oh, okay.
So starting May 1st throughout the whole summer, there's an expectation that I'm going to be working on the east side up by Hogle Zoo.
Okay. And maybe that's a good place to start, because I mean, the regular meetings will conclude at end of June. So will go part of the way into the summer, but obligation for summertime, I know, can be really tricky. And so we could look, I mean, we can recommend anything we want, right? And they can do or not do what we recommend, but we could recommend going to less frequent meeting schedule over the summer and resuming with more frequency in the fall. We could look at, I mean, I was brainstorming about this while I was walking the dog earlier. I was trying to think, we could preserve the kind of seats at the table, because one thing that concerns me about, like, I would hope that all of you want to continue and do this work for another year, but I also recognize that people have lives and professional obligations and things going on that might make it so that we can't all continue on beyond June. So I wonder, should we say, hey, this setup was great. The seats at the table, the communities that were represented were great. If you're going to continue this work, make sure that you're filling those seats as you go with the same communities that are represented. I don't know. I'm just putting it out there for food for thought. Do we think we should continue as this commission as it stands for another year? What's useful?
I think the immediate concern was we had recommendations, right?
Yes.
And supposedly there was going to be funding for the SROs to continue in the summer.
Yes.
I don't think we put a date on that, now that I'm thinking about it. So I don't know if the view is, yeah, we'll do it in the summer, but not summer of 2021. We're going to do it 2022. And so I think for the immediate, since, whatever, we're shooting till the end of June or whatever, is to then either make the recommendation that it should start this summer. And like that, the SROs that right now that are part of the program with Salt Lake City PD, that then they would be able to join in that summer program. Or do we say, oh man, I don't know if we can do it, and let's push it for the next year. And of course, that will depend on whether we are still going to be around or not. But either way, I think we can do the recommendation, whether we're together or not. We could make the recommendation now. So you guys are going to have the summer program this year?
For the PYP program?
Yeah.
Sorry, I feel like we're conflating two things. There's the officers going through the summer with the PYP program,
Yeah.
and then there's the future of our commission are the two.
Yeah. But you were talking about going into the summer with PYP, right?
Yeah, I was. Yeah, that's what I was talking about, because like half our squad, we've been trading out, working patrol. So we're running with half a squad right now. And then the other half we're about to rotation. So we're going to be switching. And then, it's really up to the admin as to whether we're doing the PYP summer program. We all want to. It's just whether we're allowed to, or we have the manpower to.
Yeah. And then I was also wondering if COVID and all that stuff.
COVID shut us down last year.
Yeah.
So
And so I was wondering if you guys are, if we're far along ahead to ensure that we are going to have one or not. Maybe we could talk to Ashley, see if, if that's coming along.
Well,
Uh,
we can get the kids for sure. I'm pretty sure we can round them up that would benefit from it. It's just getting a commitment, because I don't want to round up kids and then like let them down because we
Yeah,
can't
burn
do
'em.
our program, you know. And
Yeah.
that's not what we need to do. We need to come through for these kids, you know.
Sure.
So if I'm understanding right, so the funding, yeah, we were told the funding should be there for the summer program, but the issue is more staff shortage. That's why you're having to go out on, it's not that the funding couldn't happen.
It's not that the funding couldn't happen. It's just it's kind of a staffing problem. We've had a lot of guys leaving, and we got put on a hiring freeze for a while, and that kind of put us quite a ways back in staffing. I mean, we've got probably 30 or so in the academy now. So, but they're not going to be ready for another 8 months or so.
Yeah.
Okay.
That'll take a while.
Okay. So, Moises, do you want me to reach out to Ashley, or do you want to just have a quick conversation with her to make sure that that jives with her needs for this year? And if there's anything else we need to look at, or should we
Yeah,
just-
I could talk to Ashley and Sergeant Tierlink and see where they are with all this and see if that's going to be a possibility. And if it is, I would go for, supporting getting those SROs out there in the summer.
Yeah.
With
Okay.
the understanding that, the staff shortage, boy, it should be great to, especially some of these kids that really can use that support in the summer.
Okay.
But I'll follow up on it.
Lauren, do you mind unsharing the agenda so I can see everybody?
Yeah.
It's just a
Thank
little
you.
hard with everybody being at the top of the screen. Thank you. Okay. So with that,
Uyema's got a question.
oh, okay.
Hey, yeah, so kind of just reiterating what Officer Detective Atkinson, we've been going around and kind of telling the kids that there might be a summer program, because we're left in the dark. We don't know whether it is or isn't. But at least from my experience, all the kids that I've talked to, they said they're willing to do it. And it's just, with school being about a month and a half or 2 months left, it would kind of help them to know where they would also be at. So that's the recommendation, with just trying to get all the SROs, like you said before. We're building the rapport. They want to come out because SROs are there, and then, to meet the other SROs and other kids from other schools. So I'm just hoping that push for the SROs are able to go and help, because I mean, they're the biggest recruiting tool. I mean, Ashley and the rest of the people that she's in charge of, they can help, but they're also limited on hours, and they're not in the schools as much as we are.
Right. Okay. Okay. Well, it sounds like we'll just do some following up and make our understanding a bit more clear. And that is in our, I mean, we've, if you remember in our recommendations, we've memorialized kind of our understandings of what those path forward items were. So we still do have time before Tuesday. If we can get feedback from Ashley, we still do have time that we could, kind of amend that one that talks about the over the summer bit to see if we need to make it more strong or more considerate of current conditions or what it is. So, okay. So with that, I will shift us again to looking at the work of this. So school safety, if you think about why did you sign up for this subcommittee and what were you hoping we would achieve, and backing out to that, are there issues that we still want to make sure we tackle? I mean, I know there's still a few of our recommendations we haven't brought to final. Those things I think we will make sure we bring to final, the data issues and some of the others. But I mean, at one point, we have always left on the table the possibility of reallocating funds from the SRO program to those wraparound services. to, you know, we have talked about other issues that we haven't necessarily brought into recommendations. So I'm looking at all of you to say, like, thinking about why you joined and what you're hoping to change for our kids' outcomes and what's realistic in the time frame we've had. What do we still want to tackle with our remaining time? Are there big things we still want to bring forward between now and June? Or would that be too rushed?
Well, I already told you mine on that email.
Yeah. Yeah. And Moises says one. Do you want to share it now? Or introduce it at least in concept, and we can
Yeah.
put.
So I don't like the name of it because when I first heard of it, I was thinking, oh, here we are hardening our schools again. Hardening schools meaning metal detectors and kind of militarizing it and making it more of a prison rather than an enjoyable place to learn. But it's basically the school threat assessment, uh, and basically it is a very structured way to help our youth, our students that may end up causing harm either to themselves or to others, and it's structured in a way that you don't overreact if it's not a big deal, or you can properly react if it was going to go into crisis. And it's been assessed pretty. It's been researched for a while. The main one is out in Virginia, and it used to be called the V Stag, but now it's called the C Stag. And we actually have, I think, 3 school districts here in Utah that are already started implementing it. The COVID kind of messed things a little bit up, but so they already started, and I'm working with one of the school districts up in Cache County on it with them. And again, I don't like the name of it, and some people even say just change the name so it could not sound as And it's really mostly driven by the civilians, by mental health and school administrators. But if that school district has an SRO, school-based law enforcement program in it, then they of course include the SRO as a part of that assessment piece. And everybody's got their job. There's training and stuff like that. And it got started here through USBE, right, State Board of Education, and UDPS, the Utah Department of Public Safety. So they both work together, and now they both have somebody at USBE, the civilian and the sworn officer. I think his name is Sergeant Barnes, and can't remember the civilian fellow. And so they help guide, how to implement it. It's not a quick and dirty thing. It's a pretty comprehensive program. And so what I can do, if it's a thought process that you guys would have, is I could present it, what that looks like, because I think Salt Lake City should definitely have something like that. It's really based on a lot of the stuff that we're talking about, providing mental health, but based on good assessment, good research, so you don't overreact with some of these kids. So I could do that. And then the other one was we met with the data analysts a while back. I think they invited a few of us, or a lot of us, and a few of us were able.
We reported back in this meeting about it.
And so they had some good stuff, and I don't have the good stuff in here because somebody in support took those notes, but I remember thinking, man, we gotta jump on that.
Yeah, and we do have one recommendation that we've held in reserve at the moment about better coordination between PD and school district data analysts, that we've, through our research, we have determined that these are powerful people that know how to make sense of data, and that they could be more powerful if they could collaborate more readily on some of this stuff. Because as we saw when we were asking for data, we got data from here, no data from here, and so if they could have some formal collaboration, that was one recommendation that we pulled out of that. But I can pull forward the notes, and we can look at that for future recommendations as well. So I'll make sure to bring that to our next meeting.
And the big thing about bringing those two data sets is to make sure we have some good understanding for information sharing. You know, whether it's an MOU or interlocal agreement or something, because that's really the big divide there that, you know, PD can't share because, I don't know, HIPAA or whatever, and FERPA's on the other side with Ed. And so education. So if we could be able to develop a good information sharing agreement, oh man, that'd be great. And since Nicole's a lawyer, she'll probably take that on. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Nicole. So yeah, I will pull those notes and we can see what else, because I agree that that was the sentiment in that meeting was like, wow, these people really know what they're doing, and there's so much more that they could be bringing in terms of value to this issue. So I will make sure to bring that. And then the threat assessment, do you want me to just put that on the agenda for our next meeting so that you can unpack it for us a little? Because it does.
Yes.
And Lauren is
and
sending us the link, right?
Okay, yeah, and I was gonna say I can maybe send some other stuff, but yeah, that'd be great.
No, I
Just so
I
people
forwarded
just
it
kind of
to
look.
Lauren.
There's a video
Just
in
something.
there of the main researcher.
So you can kind of peruse that before our next meeting and we can talk about it. I still am not seeing Shannon, who asked to attend, so I'm not, maybe she wasn't able to be here, but with that, but we'll take the extra time and talk more about the things. And because I'm not hearing anybody jumping out and like the future recommendations or the priorities, I thought maybe, go ahead,
I'll
Nicole.
jump in. Yeah.
Okay.
So future recommendations, I think I do want to see, I want to take a closer look, and I'll do this. I've been meaning to do this for a while and I haven't, sorry.
Mhm.
But I want to take a look at the original version of Representative Hollins's legislation, compare it to the MOU, and see places where maybe we can adopt some of the original language of Representative Hollins's legislation into policy.
Okay.
Because
That'll,
we can do that for Salt Lake City specifically, and Salt Lake City PD. Statewide, that's something else. I'm not even going to go into statewide, but for us, I liked a lot of what she had, and I think we can incorporate a lot of what she was hoping to do into Salt Lake City policy.
do you want to give us an example of, I mean, I know you don't know it by heart and you haven't unpacked it, but just
Yeah,
like
so
a flavor.
yeah, some of it was the actual stated measurable goals for the program. That was one of them. The additional trainings, and I think Salt Lake City already does a bunch of these trainings, so that's one of those that may be duplicative already. But if it's not there, it should be. And I don't think anybody at SLCPD would be against that at all. It's from what I've seen of everyone there, they're really welcoming of that kind of training and whatever they can do to help the kiddos out. So those were just the two big ones that popped out of in my mind is that specific goal, measurable goal, and then gathering that data specifically. And that does fit really well with us wanting to make sure that SLCPD and the school district have better communication and data gathering. That was one of my long-term ones. And I think now knowing, or having, not knowing, but having an idea of what the SROs are wearing in schools, seeing if we can address maybe how to make it a little less imposing,
Mhm.
intimidating, I don't know.
Approachable,
More approachable, more approachable. I like that. Thank you, Siobhan.
Okay.
Something maybe more approachable for the students.
Any thoughts on that from the officers? Or any thoughts? I mean, a lot of these ideas were generated through research we did before you all arrived. So are there issues that you see in your day-to-day work that you think would be things you want us to discuss or that would be beneficial again to the outcomes of our children of color?
As far as the uniform and whatnot,
Mm-hmm.
it's not the exact same uniform as patrol. Obviously, it's a little bit more casual. It's just we still wear our vest over the top, and the reason we wear the vest is I don't know if there's going to be an active shooter. We've had school shootings go throughout the nation, and I would not like to be in that position without my vest or my gun. I get it. The kids may be a little bit more apprehensive to want to talk to me, but I think that's also on us as SROs to go and just mingle with the kids and show that we're human too. You know, I mean, they may think we're just there just to arrest bad guys, harass people and whatnot, but I think there's a reason why the SROs are a little bit more nitpicky when people apply for the position. They have to have obviously a different demeanor than just a normal patrol guy. Obviously experience working with youth helps, but with all those type of aspects of the SRO working with in the school with the uniform, I get it. That's usually the normal question when I go visit the middle schools or the elementaries, not even for cases, but I go during lunch times to visit with the kids, because that's when I can see all the kids. And the first thing they ask me is, who are you here to arrest? And I tell them I'm not here to arrest anybody. I'm here to play and eat lunch with you guys. So it's building that rapport. And I understand even with high school kids, it's the same thing. But, if we're not just, we're a little bit more open, we'll go, like I've done it where I've sat at the tables before, the kids, there's an empty seat. I'll go and I'll sit on the table with them during lunchtime. And they're kind of taken aback, like they get all quiet and they're a little nervous, and I get it. But, I start talking to them and then they slowly start to open up. And I told them, come by, say hi to me, stop on my office. I've got candy. You don't only come to my office because you're in trouble or you're busted. It's because you want to say hi. I'm a normal person, just like a cool teacher, I guess. I'm trying to fit in that mold. So that's kind of what I do. I can't speak for everybody else on my squad. I told them that's what I do. It helps break up the stereotype of me just being there for bad guys or someone's in trouble type of thing. So I that's my preference on my take on the uniform. I like what I have because the kids are my responsibility to keep them safe. And if an active shooter shows up, I really can't do much without my uniform. That I'd be doing a disservice to the kids. I mean, I can jump in front of a bullets without my vest, but that's it. I'm done protecting that one or two kids. After that, the rest of the school's on their own. And that's how I feel about my uniform being there. It's not intimidation, and that's why I try to break up that monotony of going and talking with the kids. That's my 2 cents. Sorry.
No, I appreciate your 2 cents and I appreciate you sharing it. Can I ask a difficult question?
Yeah, go ahead.
Just based on the research that we have all read and seen, and I think this has been pretty prevalent in the news when we have had guest speakers and we have talked to folks who have looked at the data nationwide. Now I know the Salt Lake City data is different than the nationwide data, but that it has been reported to me that school-based law enforcement has never successfully stopped a school shooting. Do you feel like that's true? I mean, and past performance is no indicator of future, right? But that's what comes to my mind when you say that, and I know that's tricky.
Yeah.
Because
So with regards to that study, I mean, I get it. It's facts. It's data driven. But my other thing is you can't write up data or a study that shows how many it has prevented by me being there with a marked vehicle, with me having my uniform on. I mean, we've had kids bring guns to schools. Did they shoot anybody? No. Have we pulled off guns off of kids? Yes. Nationwide, it's happened, but to say that it stopped it, we don't know, because it obviously didn't happen. I think when we look at it as in we are stopping an active shooter, that's if the active shooter is actively shooting rounds in the school. To say that we stopped it prior to it happening, it may have happened. I mean, we've had threats over social media where someone's holding a gun saying they're going to come and shoot the school. We go and we end up dealing with it outside of the school prior to the next day of school. We run into the ground and figure out what's going on, kind of thing. So I understand that data shows, or those studies show that, but it also, I don't think it can speak for those that it's prevented in a sense of prior to happening.
okay, so you're saying it probably just doesn't tell the whole story as you see it.
Yeah, I
tells a
think
portion of the story.
Of obviously, if the active shooter is present at the school shooting rounds off, that cops have not stopped it per se. But to say that, that's a blanket statement for all cops or SROs where it has never stopped it, I beg to differ, just because, me having the mere presence of an officer, it shows that, okay, maybe I can't do it because the cops here. I mean, most people, we're a physical deterrent when we show up on stuff. People stop fighting sometimes, not all the time. If they know we're there, they stop for the most part because they don't want to get in more trouble.
Rogelio, you jumped on video, which usually means you want to say something. Do you have something to share on the topic, or are you just demonstrating you're listening?
Just I hear them out. I understand what you guys are trying to do your job. You guys are trying to be protected as well. But you got to understand that students do come in and a lot of them do fear you more than they fear an active school shooter actually happening. They see you daily. They don't have active shooters at their schools daily. You're the closest person to a gun there most of the time. You're the one with the visible gun. You're the one there they have seen videos of SROs and other police officers seriously harm people, So that's just something I would like to kind of push more on is if you guys could be more casual. I think it would be more approachable for you in general. I think the students would feel safer. And I think
Oh, you jumped onto mute. You must have pushed something halfway through what you were saying.
I think students would find it way, way more approachable if you were in like at least something way more casual or not even your gun showing, maybe concealed. But that's just kind of my perspective as the youth. I know even like I went to West and I know when I saw the SROs, I didn't feel safe. I thought that, they have guns and I always thought they were part of kind of there to incriminate me and other students. You kind of also brought up the point of students bringing guns to school as well. Yes, some of them do, but I have more problems with, an adult carrying a gun than a student carrying a gun and things like that.
Well, thanks for both of those perspectives. Anybody else have anything else they want to share on that topic? Because I have one thing that we could jump to, if not.
Yeah.
I would
For-
like
I
to
would say
add
from what I've heard is I'm from people in the community, as I'm hearing similar to what Rogelio has said, and in all candidness, I never had an SRO in any of my schools. My kids don't have SROs in their schools, but they attend a private school. So the only time I've ever encountered SROs was when I was a teacher's aide at Granger for a summer. So that's the only time I've ever personally encountered an SRO and worked with an SRO outside of my DCFS work and working as an attorney. And I think that's a completely different sort of dynamic. So I don't know that it's really relevant, but from what Rogelio said, that's similar to what I'm hearing from people in the community.
Okay. Go ahead, Detective Atkinson, Officer Atkinson.
No, I can see where people are coming from. And I understand maybe softening the appearance, but without taking all my tools away, because it's like telling a plumber to go fix something in plumbing and taking all his tools away. That's exactly what some people want to see. And then I'll have kids wait and they'll go through stuff on the weekend and then they'll come report it to me on Monday because they feel comfortable. So I haven't noticed it being as much of a barrier as you might think. But then again, I'm not getting those kids that are truly afraid of police and I'm probably not going to come talk to me, right? But my concern would be just taking too many of my tools away to take care of an issue if there happens to be one. And that's what Detective Mo is kind of hitting at as well. And there could be ways that we could carry our stuff that might change the appearance a little bit, but last time I heard, at least the district wanted at least marked cars in the parking lot for that deterrent factor. And then sometimes I do notice kind of an uptick when my car's not there and I'm not there. We get a little bit more rambunctious kids, I guess. We have a few more problems on some of those days. So I think that I at least see us being a deterrent. So.
Yeah, I mean, and that might be something we can unpack a little more. I want to at least introduce the document I wrote for the for how we might evaluate the program, and I think that actually could tie all of these things together, because Nicole, what you're talking about going through Representative Holland's stuff, I think that applies. And I also think what you all are saying, when you look at the stated goals in the MOU, they're really broad. They're really broad. And I know that there's things inside there that talk about, you know, what needs to be done and who's responsible for what, but all of these things come down to what are we trying to achieve? What are the desired outcomes of this program? And if we can refer back to a more clear set of desired outcomes, I feel like that will help organize the conversation a little bit, because when I went and revisited those again, I was again surprised. I mean, there's very specific tasks within it, but the goals are, I mean, ridiculously broad. So
And in their defense, I don't think they really knew what the stated goals were going to be. I don't think they had that idea yet. I think it was more of let's get an agreement in place, which I get that. I've been in drafting situations where like, let's just get it on paper.
yeah.
So
And
I
it
don't
was
think it's
probably-
anybody's fault, but I agree. It should be.
Yeah.
It was probably a good
be
step
something more.
forward, but we could we
Right.
can do better, I think. Go ahead,
Absolutely.
Elaine.
When we got together, the purpose was to discriminate the roles of the SRO and the roles of the school administrator.
Yeah,
Because
and it does
oftentimes the
that.
school administrators were bringing it in there, and that was the purpose of it.
Yeah.
And then we also talked about all the training that we wanted them. That MOU of Salt Lake City, it was almost done from base on that, on the law, and vice versa. A lot of that was going on at the same time, and that's how we developed the MOU and that and the law. And so now there's the the updated law is not much different. There's a couple of things, and so we could do that too. But that's the purpose of that oversight committee, and that's why we say we're going to go there to help them to develop the goals. And so, Siobhan, you keep saying like, oh, they're just so random. For me, they're not random. They're pretty good. They're just not measurable yet.
Yeah, and that's the
and
that's what I
most of
think
us
we can-
don't have those jobs. Most of us that have jobs don't have those measurable outcomes. So I don't think we should act like, oh my God, I can't believe these guys don't have that.
Yeah.
I don't
Most of
think
our
that's
jobs, we don't have
really-
those things.
I don't think that's really what anyone's saying. I don't think that's what anyone's saying. It's I
Well,
totally
yes.
no, it's not. I says. Don't
I
take it
think
personally.
so.
No, I think it's
like,
not. It's not.
It's like, what's
It's
the
not.
big? They got these big goals. It's
No,
like,
that's
oh,
not at
yeah.
all.
It's just
It needs. That was a good step. It really was.
if
And
you're
I
trying
get-
to
you
reach
get-
those goals, it's very difficult to understand what might
Right.
constitute meeting them, is all I'm saying.
building good relationships with youth,
Mhm.
that's pretty good. Now let's just make them measurable. What does that look like?
Right.
And that's what
Yeah,
I'm talking about, is working with schools to make those outcomes real. All right.
So I'm sharing what the goals are. And I mean, I wrote very like just things for you all to react to. Please do not make this our final document. You all need to add to this and bring this. But these were my first attempts to just kind of put a little more definition to those. I will make this a little bit bigger, but I'm going to send this out. I just want to make sure that this is the first goal in the MOU is to provide for the health, safety, and welfare of the school community as defined there. And so the three things that I put as a sub for each one of these, and this is all adjustable, is to say, how can we evaluate program success in this area? What are some potential metrics? And I added important considerations on racial equity in each area, because that's our stated purpose, right? And so I thought this would be an okay format with which to move forward. Because I mean, these are just my basic thoughts. We don't need to go through each one, but I wanted to get your sense on, is this an okay way, like an okay framework to hang this on? If I send this out and you all can cross it out, change it, add your thoughts, but is this an okay framework to go through each one? Like, how might we measure this? How might we move forward for each one? Metrics, yeah. Okay, some of them I had great thoughts on, other ones I did not. But I think that, like, when we talk about improve school climate, that could be taken a bunch of different ways. Like, right? We could say, yeah, I mean, that's a good goal, but what could we do to improve school climate? I put a few ideas, again, just based on what we've talked about and what some other people we've interviewed have talked about. And some of the data needs, etc. And then I put a section here at the bottom to, like, because we know that at some point in the future that MOU will need to be updated. And so just a place to put some additional suggestions that maybe do or do not fit within the existing goals. Just to kind of hold them for whatever, assuming this FTE gets hired and they move forward and getting this MOU rethought about some suggested additional goals. Where we like here, I suggested that the FTE be allowed to set timeline goals for this program, because if theoretically, if the program continues to be successful, we want to see it continue to move forward. But if data improves and what the data that's tracked is not, reaching the goals, at what point do we reevaluate and putting that stuff out there? So if this is an okay format, if I send this out, is everybody okay to kind of at least put your brainstorm thoughts into it? It does not need to be a perfect document. It does not need to, but if we can put all of our kind of brainstorm thoughts into it, then we can move forward and refine it together. And that I really want to include and encourage the SROs to put your thoughts into this, because this is an opportunity for you to be able to give yourselves the tools, like you said, the tools to do even more in helping the outcomes for our youth. So if this is specifically that criteria, that the way I imagine this working is that we can give it to the district and that oversight committee, of course, but I think we can also kind of submit it with our recommendations, right? To say, because there's, or even pull sections of it out to make them separate recommendations, however we want to do it, because I think there's a lot there to consider about what do we actually want this this group to be achieving, right? What will make school safety better? What will make students to, Rogelio, your thoughts about what actually, intent and outcome are very different, right? And the intent of this, all the language sounds good, but like if it's not actually improving students' feelings of safety or actual safety, then we want to look at that differently, right? Anybody have thoughts on that as a process? If we can do that, is it still worth our time to do that? Is that an okay way to go?
I'm fine with it.
Okay.
Good.
Okay. I'm seeing nodding heads. Great. And so this one, I may force people to do the Google Doc. Moises, I will commit to put your stuff in the Google Doc for you if you send me tracked changes, just because I think it will be important to see whose ideas were what and be able to parse that.
Could you do that with me too?
Yes, I can do that for you
worry
too.
about Google Docs. I get
Yes.
really scared.
Yes, you guys, you two have special permission to do
special
track
needs.
changes, and I will get them added, or maybe between Lauren and I, we can get them added with your name attributed to your thoughts. But I think that it'd be good to kind of track comments, and especially if there's opposing edits, etc. It just becomes version control with this type of editing can be challenging. So is everybody else okay with Google Docs? If not, you can send me a track change version and we will get yours added into the big doc. But I think for all of us to review, it'll just be easier.
I saw Davina making fun of us, like, yes, of course I
yes,
can.
we can all do that. It's all right. We don't discriminate here. We will help you out.
I'm just Google Doc inept. That's all there is to it. I've tried. I can't do it. I'm sorry. I don't even think I can claim age because I'm not that old.
I do pretty well with it, but I still run into moments where I'm like, what just happened? Where did it go? So
I just can't find the files. That's my issue. I have so many Google Docs out there somewhere with all my projects that I can never find it.
I don't know where they go, out into the ether. Okay, well, we'll move forward that way on that one. Lastly, I know we're a little bit over time. MJ and Ephraim and Weston Clark from the city worked on I think you saw in the email that we sent out that they were working on a city version of declaring racism a moral and public health crisis, a version of the one that failed at the legislature. Did everybody have a chance to review that? Are we supportive? It was sent out in the stuff. If you didn't have a chance to review it, I know that this is going to be discussed at full commission next time. So if you haven't had a chance yet, I mean, is anybody, I mean, just so I can let city staff or my fellow facilitators know, does anybody see major issues with pushing that forward at the city level? I mean, wordsmithing is one thing, but the concept of moving it forward.
No, this is already supported by the mayor and the city council, I think, right?
It is the development of it, I believe, is supported at the city level. They haven't done anything official to actually adopt it, but I think the concept is being well received at the city, is my impression. But if we're generally supportive of pushing that at the city level, then I think that's all they really want to know is like, and then wordsmithing, I think will be welcome as well. If we don't like the spirit of what has been written or the wording, do chime in. And doing so offline, I think before the meeting, if it's actually just wordsmithing, is probably going to be the best way to go. So we don't have to do all that in full commission. But if there's big kind of conceptual issues you want to discuss, I would say come ready to talk about those that are next.
I just didn't know what version I got because going through that whole web, I mean, email link there, because the one I got from MJ had a lot of, it was very inaccurate. But then it seems like maybe the original was better. I don't know. So I just don't know which version I have.
So the one that Lauren sent yesterday is the one that was collaborated upon with city staff and others. I don't know, you probably saw an earlier version. I actually don't know the progression, but that's the most recent draft that I have seen is the one that came in Lauren's email yesterday.
And this is with a collaboration with this other group, right?
Well,
And
Weston is
I
the guy.
thought they were, well, no, but they were talking it with, what is it, blue shirts,
Oh, yeah,
Black
yeah, yeah.
Lives or something, and
Yeah.
they're not going to get done till like mid-April, aren't they, or something like that? So I'm a little confused with the timelines.
Yeah, I agree. I don't know the timeline of that particular group, but I think if we're supportive of moving it forward at the city level, let's express that support. And if there's different, things that would make it more applicable to Salt Lake City, I think those are going to be welcome edits as well. So just wanted to flag that because we were asked to talk about that at subcommittee, so everybody would be kind of aware of it and ready to weigh in. So if you haven't had a chance to look at it, do. And
Yeah, can you resend it? I don't know if I ever got a copy of that. Maybe I just missed it.
Lauren sent it in her email yesterday, but if you want to resend it.
Son of a monkey, I totally missed it then.
I'll
Okay,
resend it with my notes tonight.
All
Okay.
right. That's my bad. Sorry.
No,
Happened.
no, there was a lot more than typical in that email. I packed in a lot more this week. So if you stopped at agenda, I'll keep going down. Then I will Google Doc that and attach it, the version, so that we can brainstorm between now and our next meeting on moving those forward. And perhaps, Nicole, that'll be a good format for you to pull forward some of that stuff from Representative Holland's bill so that we can memorialize it there. Because I see that being a good thing for Moises, for you and Steve to bring into that oversight committee, but to also maybe get our brains thinking about what else we want to move forward as recommendations with the time we have remaining. So anything else for the good of the order today?
I don't know. You didn't hardly get any responses about what we wanted to do when it comes to the future of the commission. And I would, like, right now I'm just thinking that I would be fine with how kind of where we are, especially now that we are getting more law enforcement to participate. So I'm fine with that, but of course, other people may have much better ideas, and so I'd love to hear other ideas as well.
Rogelio?
Just my 2 cents. Since kind of this last year, COVID had school mainly online, just as soon as things started to get back to normal, that we take some time to go into schools and ask the students what they're feeling, what they're thinking, just on a larger scale and on a more kind of less a formal way, just kind of chatting with them, doing surveys, just to see their points of view.
Yeah, I mean, that definitely with this group, you know, becoming more functional and more productive as time goes on, it does seem difficult to just cut and run after June when we're actually starting to get moving forward. But I do think because the format of the future is not yet determined, I think it would be good for us to identify our priorities like you're talking about, Rogelio. Like, here are the things we wanted to do but couldn't because of COVID, or here's the issues we still wanted to tackle but time didn't allow. So at least those are memorialized for, you know, if we continue in this format, great. If we don't, then like that is still, it's not time lost, it's not energy lost. At least those can be picked up and moved forward. Hopefully by us, but maybe by some other group. So
And that was my question too, is do we start just running on our own, or do we still have a facilitator or explain these?
well, I think we can recommend what would be useful.
I want the
As long as we don't
facilitators.
have Dante.
Yeah. You guys have been great in keeping us moving forward and keeping us organized. I don't think any of us have the bandwidth to do that. I know I don't. There's no way.
Yeah, that perhaps some help to,
Mhm.
yeah, I mean, that feels fair when you're giving of your time to not have to be the carrier of all the stuff. So okay, we will, Lauren, if you write down those last few thoughts, that'd be good, and then we'll formalize that. I'll put that on our next agenda as well, because I do think that this exercise of brainstorming some of that, I think will help us to pull those priorities forward a little bit. So we'll keep that on the agenda for next time, and hopefully formalize something like that.
And put me that I formally do not support that article that talks about SRO's effectiveness. As a researcher of over 25 to 30 years in criminal justice, I have some issues with that research.
Which one?
The one that says that SROs didn't stop, and
Yeah, the one that's been brought up a number of times.
it's so skewed.
Mm.
But a lot of research is, so it just depends on the agenda of the authors.
Let the record reflect, Lauren.
Yes.
Moises does not agree with that article.
And that I'm going for Houston in the Final Four, just so y'all know. I was wearing my colors, alma mater, the Red Cougars, not Blue Cougars, the Red Cougars.
All right. Is that what they
Let the
do?
record reflect that Nicole rolled her eyes at Moises.
I second that for Nicole.
Fair enough.
Come on, Rogelio.
There you go.
Eso.
There we go. All right, guys.
All right, guys.
Well, thanks for everybody's time, and we'll just keep rolling. Have a
All
good
right, thanks,
evening, everyone.
See y'all.
See you guys.
Bye. Have a good day, guys.